So there are a ton of horror TV shows currently airing, and we are trying to keep up with every freaking one of them. And I think that every one of them is still airing, and this might be the only one that has ended thus far. This is...
Uzumaki!
So Uzumaki Spiral into Horror is an Adult Swim adaptation of the Junji Ito manga, which Kaylee has read.
I have.
I watched the live action movie with her. And I've definitely perused that. I've not read it all. But anyway, so if you're familiar with the manga, then I'm sure you probably already watched it. But if you're wondering if this is a better adaptation than the movie, then that's what we're here to talk about. Now, the show is currently streaming on Max, so that's where you can watch it. So this is about, I mean, what would you say the story is about?
It's about a town that is cursed by spirals.
It's hard to kind of say what the
yeah.
plot is without seeing it. Basically, they become obsessed with spirals and everything starts becoming a spiral. And when I say everything becomes a spiral, I mean fucking everything starts becoming a spiral.
It's a very, it's cosmic horror, for sure. So it gets very weird, very surreal, and, some of that is, maybe, some Japanese influence in a way, but it is, I think, especially, bizarre as far as horror goes.
And with this style and brand of horror, I always think, I don't think this kind of horror in Japanese manga really can be adapted in live action form. I mean, could it? I guess, maybe, but it's just so out there. I feel like the manga, anime style, animation is really the only way to truly do this. And, from the pictures and from the story and from everything that I've seen, this seems like it kind of reminds me of almost a motion comic, because it's almost a one-for-one of the comic or the manga and how it is, and the artwork of it. It's in black and white. It's, the style, the imagery, everything is identical. Yeah. So you just kind of wanted to see the manga brought to life, then this is definitely the show for you.
Absolutely. I feel like it literally is just the manga came to life, which I really loved. I thought I really think that's awesome.
That's the best way to do it.
Absolutely. And this, I love the the hair bit. I haven't read all of Junji Ito's works. We've kind of talked about that on here before. It's definitely something that I would like to do because I'm a big fan of Uzumaki. It's definitely up my alley as far as I just like how weird it is, and I think it's really disturbing. I think that there's a lot of stuff that happens that you're just WTF. A lot of those moments. For somebody that isn't familiar with anime or Japanese media, I guess, in general, I could definitely see this being maybe too weird bizarre, and too bizarre. But if you're somebody, for sure, if you're somebody that is into Japanese horror, and especially if you're somebody that likes any animes or any other mangas, this might be something to check out if you're looking for a horror thing to watch. But I really loved this adaptation of it. I thought it was perfect. I don't have any complaints.
Yeah. As far as it really being a TV series, I don't really think that's necessary. This is a movie. They broke it into 4 parts. I know a lot of people will be like, well, that's what TV shows are. They're just longer forms of a movie. No. This is the length of a film. Each episode is about 25 minutes long, bringing it to 100 minutes. It's an hour and 40-minute movie. There's no real chapter breaks that feel episodic. They just kind of blend into each other. If you were to put all of the episodes together in one go, it would just feel like a film, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have any like leave off moments for cliffhangers or any of that kind of stuff. So this, to me, I think was a film that they cut into 4 episodes to throw on to Adult Swim because they didn't know how to market it any other way, right? Adult Swim was kind of the American equivalent of, you know, the platform that they would drop this on in Japan. So they just didn't know exactly what to do with it. And the audience, the only people who are really going to be watching this are probably, you know, already established fans of the franchise, I feel.
I would imagine, yeah.
I hope people do step outside of it. If you expect the narrative to be like, you know, straightforward and easy to digest and simplistic, and you just want to like see characters have arcs and all that, that's not this at all.
It definitely doesn't
This
happen.
is just pure surrealism. The best way to explain it is it's just a straight up nightmare incarnate.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it is. It's just a nightmare from beginning to end.
There's definitely like a plot. Like there is a through story that happens that's not it's there and there is a conclusion to what's happening. So it's not like you don't get any answers, but there's a lot of like kind of like side stories almost, because it's all set in one town and there's so many different you know, characters and like experiences that are happening, and we kind of jump around, but we do have 2 main characters that we follow for the most part, like the entire time. So yeah, but it is like a nightmare. I mean, the imagery, I think that like that's one of the things that really has always attracted me to Junji Ito is like his imagery. I feel like it's so insane and so scary, and especially when it's done in this style like it is in the manga, like that's, you know, his art style. It really captures this like, it's just freaky, like scary imagery.
Yeah, it has a very consistent atmosphere to it. And
yes,
you know, the one thing about Japanese horror, anime horror, manga horror, especially like, you know, something put to screen, they all have almost identically the same atmosphere to them. So you have a very strong consistency to these types of shows and movies, which I quite like, because I kind of always know what I'm getting myself into with these, and I can get myself into the right frame of mind really easily with these. And I've become very accustomed to that since I've been with her, and she's exposed me to much more of this stuff. But yeah, this is definitely not for everyone, of course, but you should go on Max, throw on the first episode, get the vibe, see how bizarre it is. It's gonna go hard.
it gets like it does.
It gets weird fast.
It gets weird fast, and it just keeps consistently getting weirder and weirder.
So I feel like if you're vibing with the style, then keep with it. If after the first episode you're like, this shit's too weird or whatever, it's gonna get weirder, and you're gonna get more disconnected. So give it a shot. Give it an episode. It's really quick. It's 25 minutes. It's not much of a commitment, but you might open your eyes to something new that you might not have been interested in previously. Because I was always a naysayer on anime until I saw Demon Slayer, and then that's like what really like turned me around. And now I've watched, you know, not a ton, but quite a bit.
More than you had, for sure.
Oh my god! I mean,
yeah.
So.
This, and at the very least, like, this has some insanely memorable like scenes and moments like that you will not forget. I think that like ever since I read this, there's a lot that has stuck with me. So
yeah, definitely some interesting moments for sure. Some wild stuff. I would love, I mean, we did see a live action version of this.
Yes, we did.
It would be super cool to have seen this in its hour and 40-minute time frame, like how it exactly is, but done in live action if they could. But I just feel like with as bizarre as the world is, it's going to have to be heavily CGI.
Yeah.
And unless you have like some Marvel budget,
right,
you're not going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, there's
right. That's the problem, is that the amount of money it would take to do it correctly.
Right.
There's not an audience to justify the budget.
Yeah.
Right? You need like $100 million budget to really be able to put in a CGI, like the level of craft and artistry would cost an arm and a leg.
Cosmic horror is one of those like subgenres that is very difficult for people to do, because you're either, if you're doing it on a lower budget, you can't like show as much. It has to be more like atmosphere and like what's implied and like what you understand is happening, and you have to get really clever about the story and the cosmic horror elements. But with something like this, you're absolutely right. Like, you need to have the budget to visually show it, because that's where all the horror is in like these visuals that we get of what's happening and how the spiral is interacting with like everybody in the town. And there's just, there's things that I think would be like near impossible to do with a practical like effects team.
The one great thing about stuff like this is like the ultimate show. Like, they tell as well, but it's much more about the show, right? As to where a lot of horror is about the implication. It's about what's implied, and we kind of fill it in with our imagination. And with this, it's like, no, the imagination is even more insane than you could have thought. And we're going to show it to you.
Yeah, which is
in full
so
detail.
Good, which I love. And
there's nothing ever left to the imagination in this. They show everything in graphic detail.
It's very cool. And along with like the cosmic horror, it's a lot of body horror. Like, that's probably the main thing, if anything, is that there's a lot of stuff going on with people's bodies.
Pure body horror,
I love that, and I love that we get to see it all, because as much as I like subtle horror that's like, you know, left up to the imagination, as you said, when you get to see something so like creative and like twisted as what we get here, it's very satisfying in like a really morbid and like macabre way.
This would have been very, very cool had they put it together as a film and released it in theaters.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen this like on a big screen.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, for sure.
So that's like one downside, is that they did this like as a cartoon episode, like on. When I say a cartoon, I mean like it's on. Isn't Adult Swim Cartoon Network?
Yeah.
So they like threw it
like
on. It's the late night.
Yeah.
But it's like they threw it on like a kids cartoon channel, late at night.
I mean,
it's weird
anime has always been on Adult Swim. Like, that's how I watched a lot of my anime before I like, you know, had any.
I get it, but this is like super R-rated.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's cool. It's on Max. Yes. So yeah, there you go. Uzumaki, Spiral into Horror, currently streaming on Max. All 4 episodes up now. And if you really like the show,
you should read the book.
Read the manga.
I mean, it's pretty much like beat for beat,
but he's also got a whole mess of other things.
Yes.
So this could open up a whole window for you.
Yeah.
You know, into some other dimension, some other crazy alternate reality of nightmares. All right, we'll see you in the comments.
Bye.
Bye.